Did you all go into labor naturally?
The second time. The first and the third time, my water broke, but then I didn't have contractions. And my second time, because I went into labor, I didn't have that evil Pitocin.
Right.
Which is a horrendous drug. But I understand why they use it, but it was not fun. But with Violet, I didn't have any meds, and I was only at the hospital for 3 hours.
Oh.
So she came very quickly. In fact, when I was first admitted with her, they were not sure whether or not they were going to admit me. And I said, if you don't admit me, I'm not going any further than the parking garage because I'll be back very shortly. And they decided, well, we'll keep you. You've had one. We trust that if you believe this is what's happening. And I said, she'll be here in a couple of hours. And she was. Yeah. But that was a different labor than one under an epidural because I felt everything all the way through. But
I'm terrified of that.
I preferred it, honestly.
That's what a lot of people say.
It was different because I didn't nap because it wouldn't have been possible, but I was totally focused and could feel everything that my body was doing, and it was like every single part of me was working to birth this baby, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you plan it that way?
Yes, that's what I really wanted to have happen, and it couldn't have gone any better. I mean, and
that's good.
Yeah, so I'm really thrilled that I got
Everybody's all of a sudden super serious, like she did it without drugs. She's like, man.
No, it's not that. I mean, and it was just a really cool experience.
Right.
I don't think.
It's interesting that you've got to experience it both ways to me and know that that's what you come out on the other side preferring. Because as somebody that's never going to go through it or doesn't ever plan to, I would think that the more drugs the better, and I'm not really a druggie.
Better living through chemistry. I always say I wish I had an epidural right now. So relaxing.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it just totally depends on you whether or not you prefer what your feeling is, and I preferred having my whole body working for it. And,
right.
Yeah. So.
Did you go into labor naturally?
Yeah. Well, in the sense that I.
Oh, that's right.
Started having labor in a normal way, and then got the Pitocin and the epidural. And because I wasn't having regular contractions and
interventions.
And I guess I had been in labor the whole day before we went in, and I didn't really know. So I don't think I'm really good at this, but I have a sister-in-law who is really awesome at being pregnant. Gains 5 pounds, walks in, births her babies, and literally the last time she had a kid, and she only has 2, but the last time she had a kid, it was in 2 hours over. And
crazy.
So she's so good, and she no drugs both times, and and me, it was it took for freaking ever. I had every drug ever, and they it still wasn't working. In the end, they had to dial back my Pitocin because I was pushing for 1 million hours. I think is is the exact amount of time, 1 million, and but I don't. But just kind of talking with her about the different experiences. I don't like the term naturally.
Right.
Yeah, I feel if
you weren't induced, is I guess
right.
Probably
well,
a better
word. In any way, the baby comes out.
We all have to get here somehow.
We all have to get here somehow.
It doesn't really matter how.
And sometimes, people plan things and then something else happens. I just don't like it when people say, did you do this naturally? Because that's such a false.
Right, it sets you up for some sort of expectation that you failed then because you
and I'm not
had help or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't think drugs, no drugs, do whatever you want, swimming pool,
Oh yeah, the options are endless.
Yeah, and there's so many options. Yeah, right.
Accidentally, you find those ones
not safe for work, but no matter what you do, there's so many options. Research them, but in the end, your baby comes, and it's
and you get a war story afterwards.
Yeah, right.
But if you're totally married to your birth plan, sometimes
you
miss yourself. You set yourself up for failure, or you get so hung up on something in there that you might not recognize that what happened it may not have been what you planned, but it's still pretty darn cool.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it is with, like, all of parenting, right? Like, don't get too hung up on the way you think things ought to be, because there's going to be a time when something doesn't happen the right way, and you're just going to have to, like, let it go.
Yeah, there's a lot of letting go.
Right.
Or the crazy arguments pop
Right.
up.
Or you can get really upset about it. I recommend that.
And then you let it go later.
Right. But never apologize.
It's never your fault. Ever.
What kinds of things did you have assumptions about either being pregnant, being a mom, giving birth, that you just knew it was going to be, insert romantic notion here, but turned out to be completely false about parenting?
I don't know what I thought, but I honestly don't.
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? But I remember when I had a baby and I was losing my mind and I was just bawling and bawling and I was like, Mom, you didn't tell me it was going to be this way. And I hadn't slept in, I don't know, 2 months. You know, even when the baby slept, I was like,
Right.
like, I'm awake, just in case something happens. Like, literally twitching. And she was like, you wouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
Like, no one can tell you what it's going to be like. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
which that was when she was a really little baby, but it's so true even now. Like, I don't know. People can tell me about their 4-year-olds, but until...
Yeah, well, until you're actually dealing
Yeah.
with one, you know, and how different children can be also challenges you. Raylan, who's 5, is a people pleaser. She wants everyone to be happy. I mean, if you need to discipline her, you just explain to her that her actions were very disappointing, and the elephant tears will start and the lip will quiver and you feel guilty, and you send her to her room anyway and let her think about it, and you go cry because that really made you feel bad. But Alexis, there's no rules for her, and it's
I have that.
uh-huh.
You know what? The Cat in the Hat doesn't follow the rules.
No, he doesn't. Why would she?
Why do I let her watch PBS?
Did she say that
Oh,
to
she
you?
says that all the time.
The Cat in the Hat doesn't follow
Yeah, when you say,
rules.
well, that's the rule at our
But
house.
the difference is you can take an eraser and get rid of the cat in the hat.
That's true.
Watch this.